Hello everyone. In this video we are going to discuss about the chapter Molecular Basis of Inheritance, and part 11 here focuses on the genetic code. So in the previous part we discussed about transcription. So what is transcription? When the DNA gets converted into mRNA, and this mRNA has the potential to get converted into the protein. So conversion of DNA to mRNA takes place by the process of transcription, and then this mRNA needs to be converted into protein. And this process is governed by the genetic code. So we will see now what is the genetic code and how it helps in the translation of mRNA into protein. And we will also see what kind of questions can be asked in the NIT examination. So transfer of genetic information from a polymer of nucleotides to a polymer of amino acids is called as translation. And what is the polymer of nucleotides that we are talking here? It is mRNA. mRNA is polymer of ribonucleotide triphosphate because it has the ribose sugar. Okay, so transfer of genetic information from polymer of nucleotide to the polymer of amino acid. And what is the polymer of amino acid? It is a polypeptide chain. And this polypeptide chain further forms protein. Okay. So this process is called as translation when mRNA is converted to a polypeptide chain, or when a polymer of nucleotides is converted to a polymer of amino acids. This is accomplished with the help of genetic code. And what is genetic code? It is row of 3 consecutive nucleotides coding for 20 amino acids. So the genetic code is a row of 3 consecutive nucleotides that are present on the mRNA that codes for 20 amino acids, and these amino acids will then form the polypeptide chain. So for example, this is the mRNA that we have, and hypothetically let's just have like a sequence like AAU, U, A, G, A, U, C, A, something. Very hypothetically, none of them mean anything. So what is the genetic code? The genetic code is when sequence of 3 amino acids are read together. Okay. So these 3 all amino acids are read together. So this will code for the first one, this will second one, this will third one, this will fourth one. Okay, so that is governed by the genetic code. It will become very more clear now, but for this point it is important that it is a row of 3 consecutive nucleotides coding for amino acids. Each amino acid in a polypeptide was encoded by 3 sequential nucleotides. The code words or codons for amino acids were nucleotide triplets. Okay, as we discussed here, so this sequence of 3 nucleotides that codes for 1 amino acid. So this sequence of 3 nucleotides that codes for 1 amino acid. This is called as a codon. So what is codon? Codon codes for amino acid and it is a triplet. It is made up of 3 nucleotides. Okay, so this is important. Sometimes there can be very easy questions from this part. Okay. Codons exist on mRNA. So here, as I told you, this was the mRNA sequence. Codons exist on mRNA. Corresponding anticodon exist on tRNA. Protein synthesis occurs with the help of rRNA. So, we know that there are 3 types of RNA. What are the 3 types? mRNA, tRNA and rRNA. So, mRNA is the messenger RNA that contains the sequence for polypeptide. Okay, so this mRNA contains sequence for polypeptide chain. tRNA, what does tRNA do? tRNA has the anticodon sequence that helps in translation. And again, rRNA also helps in translation. We will see slowly, how they help in translation. Some we will discuss in this part and some we will see in other parts. But for now, we all know that mRNA has the sequence of polypeptide and 3 of the polypeptides together form codon. So, codon exists on mRNA and correspondingly anticodon exists on tRNA. And protein synthesis occurs with the help of rRNA. So this is the table, that shows you all the codons. For example, you don't need to learn all of them. What you need to learn is I will tell you in a moment. So for example, UUU codes for phenylalanine. UUC again codes for phenylalanine. So you see, one amino acid can be coded by more than one codon. Try to understand this. So this triplet structure is called as codon and phenylalanine is an amino acid. So 2 codons can code for phenylalanine, but one codon will always code for one amino acid. Okay, we will see this in written very soon, but this you can understand here. So phenylalanine is coded by 2 different codons. One codon, second codon, UUU, the second is UUC. But one codon, for example, UUU will always encode for phenylalanine. It will not encode for any other amino acid. This will never take place. So one codon will always code for one amino acid. But one amino acid can be coded by more than one codon. Okay, we will see this soon, but this should be quite clear by now. What you have to remember from this table is AUG. So AUG, it acts as the start codon. It is where the process of translation will start. Okay, whenever the mRNA sequence has AUG, it means this is the initiation codon or the start codon. But in addition to the start codon, it also codes for methionine. So it is important, so this is important that you know that the start codon AUG also codes for methionine. And the second thing you need to know is the stop codons. Like start codons, there will also be stop codons. And what are the stop codons? There are 3 stop codons. Okay, so you must remember there are 3 stop codons and they are UAA, UAG and UGA. Just remember they always start with U, then it is UAA, UAG and UGA. First it is AA, AG, GA. So you will remember UAA, UAG, UGA. You must remember this because there will be a very easy question, in the NIT examination. Which of the following is a stop codon? And it will be very easy to score. So then we go through the salient features of genetic code one by one. The genetic code is composed of nucleotide triplets. We know that, right? By now, this is the mRNA structure. And this is first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7, 8, 9. This is the sequence of nucleotides. So the genetic code is composed of nucleotide triplets. Okay, so this is one codon. This is second codon. This is third codon. So on and so forth. So these is first, second and third codon. One amino acid is coded by 3 nucleotides. Okay, so each of the codon which contains 3 nucleotide codes for one amino acid. One amino acid is coded by 3 nucleotides. Amino acids are coded by 61 of the 64 codons. And how did they reach with 64 codons? How many nucleotides are there? 4, right? Which one in RNA? A, U, G, C. So 4 raised to the power 3 because it is always a triplet. By probability you must have done this. So this comes out to be 4 into 4 into 4, which is 64. That is how they reach for this 64 codons. Okay, so amino acids are encoded by 64 codons. And in the previous slide, we saw all the 64 codons. But amino acids are coded only by 61. Why? Because 3 of them are stop codons. 3 codons do not code for anything and hence are called as stop codons. And which are the 3 stop codons? UAA, UAG and UGA. Just keep on repeating that. UAA, UAG, UGA, you will very easily learn it. The genetic code is unambiguous or specific, as one codon specifically codes for one amino acid only, as I told you in the previous slide. One codon, for example, UUU, will always encode only for phenylalanine and nothing else. Okay, so one codon specifically codes for one amino acid and this is called as unambiguous or specific nature of the genetic code. You must learn these words, for example, unambiguous. So the genetic code is unambiguous. Sometimes they will write you like which of the following rules are followed by the genetic code, unambiguity, specificity. So you must know. And what is the meaning of unambiguous? It means that one codon codes only for one amino acid. Okay. Then the genetic code is degenerate. Except the two amino acids methionine and tryptophan, all other are specified by more than one codon. This can be sometimes confusing. This second point and third point can be sometimes confusing, but if you go through it one by one and very nicely, it will be very clear. So the second one says it is unambiguous, which means one codon codes only for one amino acid. Just remember the example, UUU will code only for phenylalanine and nothing else. But many amino acids are specified by more than one codon. 6 different codons specify the amino acid leucine, serine and arginine. 3 specify isoleucine. Each of the rest of amino acid is coded by 2 or 4 codons, Like there are multiple codons. Let's just go back to the previous slide, once. For example, here, if you look here for isoleucine, AUU, AUC, AUA. You don't have to memorize, for each of the amino acid. That is not needed. But if you see, isoleucine can be coded by 3 different codons. So this is called as degenerate nature of the genetic code, where one amino acid can be coded for more than one codon. But what is unambiguity? That AUU will always code for isoleucine. It will not code for any other amino acid. Okay. So the genetic code is degenerate because more than one codon can code for amino acid. Like one amino acid can be encoded by more than one codon. And this you should try and remember that 6 different codons specify for leucine, serine, arginine. 3 codons are specified for isoleucine. You don't need to remember the codon sequence, but just try to remember this. And rest of the amino acids are coded by 2 or 4 codons. The genetic code is comma-free and it is read in a contiguous manner. There are no punctuations such as comma within the coding regions of mRNA. During translation, the codons are read in a sequence. What does that mean? Let's go back to the simple mRNA. So this is the mRNA structure and we will just number 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So on and so forth. So what is codon? Codon is a triplet. So these 3, again these 3, these 3, these 3. So these are 4 codons, okay. So it will never happen that there is a punctuation. For example, it will never happen that it will code for 1, 2, 3 and then it just feels like skipping 4 and then it codes for 5, 6, 7. No. It will always code without any punctuations. 1, 2, 3 is one codon, 4, 5, 6 second codon, 7, 8, 9 third, 10, 11, 12. So always there will be no punctuations, okay. The codons will be read in a sequence. Then the genetic code is nearly universal. Amino acids in all living organisms are coded by same codons except for some mitochondrial codons, except for the codons that are present in mitochondria, because even in mitochondria there is protein translation that can take place. So they sometimes have their own codons, but except from that, the genetic codon is nearly universal. The genetic code contains the start and stop codon, and by now we know that, right? Which is the start codon? AUG is the start codon, and the three stop codons are UAA, UAG, UGA. Just keep on saying that 3-4 times, it will get into your head very easily. Initiation and termination of polypeptide chain is dependent on the specific sequence. If you remember the part from translation, it was the same. Like formation of the mRNA chain requires initiation, and in prokaryotes, the promoter was like a -35 sequence, terminator was a hairpin loop sequence, So similarly for translation, there is initiation and termination of specific codons. So it depends on specific sequences which are codons here. UAG, UAA and UGA are stop codons, as they do not specify amino acids but signals the ribosome to stop elongation of polypeptide chain. What is ribosome? We will see very soon what is ribosome. Ribosome is basically, a structure that helps in translation. So in the next part and the subsequent parts, we will study more about ribosomes. But for now, it is important for you to know that it helps in translation. And these stop codons do not specify amino acid, but they signal the ribosome to stop the elongation of polypeptide chain. And AUG has dual role to play. And what are the dual role AUG plays? It is the start codon. That is where the translation will start, and it also codes for the amino acid methionine. Okay, so these are the dual roles of the AUG codon. The genetic code is non-overlapping. Each nucleotide in the mRNA is part of just one codon. If you again look at the sequence that we are looking at hypothetically for so long, here. So it is like 1, 2, 3 will code for the first codon, 4, 5, 6 will code for the second codon, 7, 8, 9. So it will never happen that 1, 2, 3 is the first codon and then 2, 3, 4 is the second codon. This will never happen, okay? So once a nucleotide is there in one codon, it is non-overlapping. So each nucleotide is a part of just one codon, okay? The genetic code is ordered. If an amino acid has multiple codons, the codons are closely related, usually differing by a single nucleotide. Besides, the codons for amino acid with similar properties are also closely related. So it is ordered, if an amino acid has multiple codons, the codons are related and they will differ only by a single nucleotide, because there are 3 different nucleotides, 1, 2, 3. For example, this codes for 1. The other one will be like, let's say 1, 2, 1, and the other one will be like 1, 2, 2. So it will be like always similar sequence. For example, let's try to go back on the slide here. Yeah, let's try to see. If you just look again for isoleucine, you see AUU, AUC, AUA. Only the third position is changing. So generally it is very similar. If you look here now for leucine, you see CUU, CUC, CUA, CUG. So it is just the last position that is generally changing. So they are very closely related. Okay, which means that the genetic code is ordered. Now we will talk a little bit about mutations. So mutation studies help us in understanding the relationship between DNA and genes. If there are deletions or rearrangement, there can be a loss or gain of function. And then there are 2 important kinds of mutations, point mutations and frame shift mutations. So mutations are very important, because if there is a mutation in the DNA sequence, there will be correspondingly change in the protein sequence, because genes on DNA is expressed in the form of protein sequences. Okay, so if there is a mutation in the DNA sequence, there will also be changes in corresponding protein sequence. And the two important types of mutations are point mutation and frame shift mutation. And now we will look at each one of these. Point mutation, as the name suggests, point. It affects a single base. In this, a base substitution or nucleotide replacement occurs in which one base is substituted for another at a specific location in a gene. Okay, so this point mutation takes place in gene, which means it takes place at the level of DNA. It changes a single codon in mRNA. We'll see now. For example, this is the normal DNA. This is example of point mutation in sickle cell anemia. This is a disease that leads to anemia because there is change in shape. The RBCs become sickled shape, as a result of which there are problems and results in anemia. So what is the cause? The cause of this is a point mutation. So this is the normal DNA, that is GAG, and correspondingly G pairs with C, A pairs with T. But now there is a mutation. And because of this mutation, instead of A here, there is T. So you see, at the level of DNA, it is not that big a problem because there was AT base pairing here and AT base pairing here. So structure of DNA will be fine. But now what will happen? So now this is the template strand here. This will be the template strand here. So this will result in transcription. When it results in transcription, the mRNA is GAG. Okay. And here it will be GUG. So the template strand is this strand. CG, TA, CG. Okay. But here, because there was this mutation that took place, A converted to T here. Now the template strand has A instead of the normal T. So it will be GUG. And now is where the problem occurs. So these are the codons. So these are the codons, triplet sequences that code for amino acid. So GAG codes for glutamine, whereas GUG codes for valine. And even a single amino acid can have a lot of difference on the protein structure. So here will be the normal protein and here will be the mutant protein, because of which there will be sickle cell anemia. So you see, just a change in one amino acid, just a point mutation in one amino acid in DNA will result in a mutant protein that will result in sickle cell anemia. So these mutations are very interesting to understand, how they can cause problems. And they're again at the level of codons, that is the only problem that is occurring, because the codons are so similar, like here GAG codes for glutamine and GUG codes for valine. And this makes all the difference in the protein structure. Next is frame shift mutation. Frame shift mutation affects more than one base in DNA by a deletion or an insertion of one or more bases, frame shift. So it will shift the frame. It can alter all the three base sequences beyond the deletion or insertion, and it is called deletion or insertion mutation as well. So here you see, this is the normal mRNA structure and these are the codons. Codon 1, codon 2, codon 3, codon 4, codon 5, codon 6, so on and so forth. And each of these codes for a specific amino acid which has been specified here. Now what happens, So UAG is the stop codon. Which are the three stop codons? UAA, UAG, UGA. So these are the three stop codons. Now here UAG is the stop codon. So this is the sequence of the polypeptide chain. But now there is a frame shift mutation which is addition. So now here there will be addition of U. Okay. As a result of which, if U is here, it will then code for UUA and it won't stop it. Okay, but now if you look at this example here, so let's go through the sequence one by one. AUG, AUG, GGG, GGG, GCC, GCC, AAA, AAA. Next is AGU. But now what happens is there is an addition of U here. So here is where the U is added now. So it is UAG. You see what it did? It just shifted the stop codon. So earlier the stop codon was here, now the stop codon comes here, you see, and the serine is not being translated. So this new mRNA sequence that had a problem, like there was addition which resulted in change in the whole frame. So now it codes for only methionine, glycine, alanine and lysine. Earlier it was also coding for serine. So this is the frame shift mutation. Next is deletion, so here there was addition of U and this UAG codes for the stop codon. Okay. Now there is deletion of G. Which G? Let's see. AUG, GG, C. And now this G has been deleted. If this G is deleted, the codons shift. The next codon will be CCA. You see CCA. Then it will be AAA. AAA, then GUU, GUU, AGU, so on and so forth. You understand what is going on. Now, because of deletion of one nucleotide, the whole frame has shifted and randomly all these nucleotides are added. And ultimately, this will change the structure of the original protein, that can lead to a lot of problems. So, this is how frame shift mutation occurs by addition. It's the most important point that you have to take from here is how this codon sequence is a triplet and how it is read without any punctuation, so that even if there is a deletion or addition of a particular nucleotide, the codon sequence changes accordingly. Okay, so now we will talk about the tRNA or the transfer RNA, which is also called as the adapter molecule. So this tRNA, so on mRNA we have the codon. So to read the codon and translate into a protein, we have the tRNA that has the anticodon. Okay, so this has the anticodon structure that will recognize the codon on mRNA and ultimately result in addition of amino acid and formation of the polypeptide chain. Okay, we will see this, this will become more clear in the next part, which is translation. But for now, we need to understand what is tRNA. tRNA is an intermediate link between reading of codons on mRNA and formation of amino acid chain. We just said that. Adapter role was assigned to tRNA by Francis Crick. The first person to determine the base sequence of tRNA was Robert Colley. Again, if you have gone through the previous parts, you know that you need to remember the names of these scientists because they can ask you match the following questions. Now, tRNA has 4 arms folded into clover leaf. If you look like this structure is also called as the clover leaf structure. This is also important to remember, because sometimes in properties of tRNA, like they will write certain sentences and they will say which of the following is true for tRNA. So they can also write that tRNA has a clover leaf structure. It has 4 arms. Okay, so the tRNA has 4 arms folded into clover leaf-like structure and amino acid acceptor branch. So it has the amino acid acceptor branch, So you see this is the branch here. Clover leaf secondary structure is due to internal base pairing. You see, there is a lot of internal base pairing happening here. You see these base pairing. There is a lot of internal base pairs that are happening because of this structure, which is called as a clover leaf structure is formed. So in tRNA, about half of the nucleotides are base paired to produce paired stems. You see this is one paired stem, second paired stem, third paired stem, fourth paired stem. So these are all paired structure. And 5 regions are unpaired or single stranded. You see this is unpaired, this is unpaired, this is unpaired, this is unpaired. Here also it is kind of unpaired and this is single stranded. You see this is the single stranded region. So this is the clover leaf structure of tRNA. So anticodon loop contains 7 bases, out of which 3 nucleotides form anticodon, which will form base pair with complementary codon in mRNA during translation. So the anticodon loop contains 7 bases, So bases in anticodon, it can be either guanine, cytosine, adenine, uracil or ionosine. Okay, it is a modified base. It is a modified base that is present in tRNA. So these are the 5 bases that are present in the anticodon, and where is this anticodon present? It is present on the tRNA. So the anticodon loops contain 17 bases, out of which 3 nucleotides form anticodon. So it is very simple. So what is a codon? Codon is a triplet, it is made up of 3 nucleotides. Because codon is made up of 3 nucleotides, the anticodon is also made up of 3 nucleotides, okay, which will form base pair with complementary codon in mRNA. So here also kind of the principle of complementarity is there. So C pairs with G, G pairs with C, A pairs with U and A pairs with U. Okay, so this we already know. In addition, A, U or C can pair with I. Only G doesn't pair with I. Okay, so this is what you have to remember. What all can pair with ionosine? C, U and A. Rest all we already know. This is the normal principle of complementarity. So the principle of complementarity is followed in a lot of places, where in replication, in translation and in also codon-anticodon interaction. Now we will see about the different arms of this clover leaf structure. Okay, so D/DHU arm with the D loop contains dihydrouracil and unusual pyrimidine. We talked that there are 17 bases in anticodon. There are different bases in this tRNA structure. Okay, so one of them is dihydrouracil, which is present in the DHU arm. You look here, this is the DHU arm. And you need to remember these things, try to remember these things because they can ask you in the examination. DHU arm with D loop contains dihydrouracil and unusual pyrimidine. It is binding site for attaching amino acyl synthetase enzyme, and this enzyme again helps in translation, and we will look in subsequent parts in more detail what this enzyme is doing. But for now, it is important for that D loop contains dihydrouracil, which is an unusual pyrimidine, and it is the binding site for amino acyl synthetase enzyme. The next is T/T pseudo-C arm. Again, then pseudo-uracil is the modified base that is present in this arm. Okay, so this is this arm here. You see this pseudo-uracil. Pseudo-uracil is present, and this loop is the binding site for ribosomes. I told you, right? Ribosomes are the molecules that help in translation. So this is the site where ribosomes bind. Then is a variable arm, with 3 to 21 nucleotides, and this is the variable arm. It is variable arm because it can be different in different organisms or different types of tRNA. Then is the most important, that is amino acid acceptor arm. Site where amino acid attaches at 3' OH group of CCA sequence. So, this is the single stranded sequence or the amino acid. This is the CCA sequence, and this is the OH where the first amino acid will come and bind. Okay, so this is where the amino acid chain will be formed. So this is very important. And then tRNA also helps to transport amino acid from the surrounding cytoplasm to the site of protein synthesis, because there are amino acids that are scattered around the entire cytoplasm. So tRNA will take the amino acid and bring it to the site of protein synthesis. So this is how the detailed structure of clover leaf tRNA. tRNA has a clover leaf structure. It has 4 different arms: DHU arm, T arm and the amino acid attachment arm, and then it has the anticodon structure. So this anticodon structure here will recognize the codon structure on mRNA. So what will happen, we'll see of course in more detail, but let us understand now what will happen. So here, for example, this is the mRNA structure. It will have an anticodon. So it will base pair with, it will have a codon, and this will base pair with the anticodon. And when this kind of base pairing takes place, it gives knowledge to the acceptor arm, and then it will accept a particular amino acid. Okay, so that is how the process of translation takes place. This codon-anticodon interaction takes place on a different arm, And once this interaction of nucleotides take place, the acceptor arm will accept the correct amino acid. So it is a highly organized process. You see, the beauty of nature, the beauty of this translation process is so good that something that is happening on one arm of tRNA will be reflected on the other arm and polypeptide will be formed. It is very interesting. So from this part, it is very, very important that you know the structure of tRNA. You know about the point mutation and the frameshift mutation. And also you should definitely know everything about the genetic code. It is a bit too much for this chapter, but any part can have questions from the NIT examination. So you definitely need to know that the genetic code is unambiguous, the genetic code is degenerate, it is non-overlapping, Okay, and you will always code for phenylalanine and nothing else. But phenylalanine can be encoded by more than one codon. Okay, so this is important to know the difference between the unambiguous nature and the degenerate nature. Thank you for watching the video.